On behalf of the Society for the Analysis of African American Public Health Issues, we welcome you to the 25th anniversary celebration of our organization and the 2017 annual meeting and scientific symposium. SAAPHI is a national related organization of the American Public Health Association and is comprised of students, researchers, practitioners, physicians, and health advocates. SAAPHI's mission is to provide leadership in the promotion of health and well-being across the African diaspora through student mentorship, professional development, and policy advocacy. The theme of this year's meeting, celebrating 25 years of excellence in advocacy, research, and leadership, allows for reflection on where our organization began, the resulting accomplishments of the hard work and dedication of our membership in bringing the issues of racial ethnic health disparities, health equity, and racism to the forefront of the general public health discourse. We will discuss the role of our organization during this time of uncertainty and the very real threats to minority health and health equity. It's been 25 years and the struggles continue. We have had a significant impact on moving forward the agenda of achieving health equity and reducing health disparities. However, there is a lot more work ahead. Thinking about the future, there is so much at stake. We are at a critical juncture, one that presents opportunities and challenges for public health. Now, more than ever, we need strategic engagement that serves the three tenets of the SAAPHI mission to continue to contribute to the goal of achieving health equity and reducing health disparities. We have an exciting program planned for today. This year we have a past presidents panel with our past presidents representing key time periods in the organization. We're fortunate to have Dr. Derek Griffith as our keynote speaker, who will give a presentation entitled, "Lest We Forget, the Duality of Blackness, the Art of Pursuing Health Equity." For the first time during the annual meeting, we will host a policy forum entitled, "Navigating Uncertainty, Working Towards Achieving Health Equity." As an organization, we recognize the need for strategic organization and leadership. Thus, our mentoring and professional development is focused on leadership development with a panel of exemplary leaders within the APHA. We also have an excellent scientific program consisting of oral presentations and posters. We kindly ask that you take the time to engage with our student presenters. We encourage you to interact with our speakers and your fellow attendees and seek out opportunities for networking and collaboration. It's our hope that you leave today's meeting with new partnerships, ideas for advocacy and research, and inspiration to take action. In addition, we hope that you will consider joining us at the cocktail reception later this evening as we continue to celebrate our 25th anniversary. A combination of months of planning, deliberation, and hard work have brought us to today. And I would like to express my deepest appreciation to the current SAAPHI board members and committee members who willingly donate their time and resources to support SAAPHI. So if you guys can please stand so that we can give you a round of applause. So SAAPHI board members, please stand. Finally, we would like to thank you for participating in this year's event. Your continued support contributes to the success of the meeting. So thank you and enjoy the meeting. So we will begin with our president's panel. So Dr. Jones, Dr. Hasson, Dr. Ford, please.
Bill didn't make it. gonna come. He's probably late.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Burton Francis, and I am a current board member of SAAPHI. I also serve as the co-chair for the Mentoring and Professional Development Committee, as well as the co-chair for the Finance Committee. So we'd like to thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much to our past presidents, and we hope that you guys will ask questions. We do have, just a few questions to start out to get some information, but please feel free to ask questions at any time. So I'm just going to introduce our panelists, and then we'll jump right into it. So first, we have Dr. Camara Phyllis Jones, who was a SAAPHI president until about 2002, and she is currently a senior fellow at the Satcher Leadership Institute. She's also the director of the cardiovascular...
Senior fellow.
Senior fellow of cardiovascular research at the Morehouse School of Medicine. And she was the immediate past president of APHA. Next, we have Dr. Chandra Thorne, who was president of SAAPHI between 2008 and 2010. And she is currently an associate professor in the Department of Community Health Sciences at UCLA. And her expertise includes HIV and AIDS prevention and care, HIV testing among older adults, and the social determinants of health and social equity around conceptualizing and measuring racism. And then finally, we have Dr. Rebecca Hasson, who was our SAAPHI president from 2010 to 2012. And she is currently an assistant professor in the School of Kinesiology and Public Health, as well as the director of Childhood Disparities Research Laboratory at the University of Michigan. And her research integrates training in exercise physiology, energy metabolism, pediatric oncology, health disparities, and social equity. So please, everyone, welcome our past president. Okay, so just to kick us off, I'm just going to throw out a few questions. So what were some of the most significant opportunities and or challenges you faced during your leadership in SAAPHI?
I'm going to go first since this is sort of the thing. And Dr. Bill Jenkins, who is also on this panel, will be here at the meeting at least because he's going to be honored with the Poindexter Award at the Black Caucus of Health Workers Poindexter dinner on Tuesday. So I wish that Bill were here. I will say that I took the mantle of leadership from Dr. Virginia Kane, who is also a past president of the American Public Health Association. So I don't know if Jenny Kane is also going to be around in the meeting. But at that time, SAAPHI was still newish. So we were established in 1991, and I think that Jenny was the second president. Like, people were just holding on to the presidency to keep the organization going. We were not yet a 501c3 organization. That was one of the things that we kept pushing for. And that happened immediately after me, I think Jesse Hood, who followed me, did that. But so the challenge was recognizing the power of having a convening every year of people who range from students to the most senior folks in terms of research on African American public health issues, and in terms of creating access to careers in public health for Black folks. I mean, we distinguished ourselves from the Black Caucus of Health Workers in that we were about the research. You know, BCHW was the first caucus established by the American Public Health Association. I don't know how old BCHW was. And we weren't trying to be against or anything, but we were differentiating out. We were budding out from the Black Caucus of Health Workers. And everybody who's a SAAPHI member, I hope you're also a member of BCHW. And for many years, this meeting was actually co-organized by SAAPHI and BCHW. But the challenge for SAAPHI leadership was to keep us going. The reason that I know that I was still SAAPHI president in 2001 is that you might remember that the World Conference Against Racism, Xenophobia, racial discrimination, and other forms of whatever, related intolerance was to be held in Durban, South Africa. And at the time, I was a CDC representative, and the US was supposedly going to boycott this meeting, although I have to say they did not, you were there. But anyway, so I was trying to find some kind of way to get to that meeting. And SAAPHI, Jesse Hood, who was the vice president with me, and we registered SAAPHI as an official UN, some kind of body that gave us standing to get to that meeting. And we still have that standing. So if there are any international meetings and SAAPHI wants to send representatives, we are now registered with the United Nations to do that. So that was the first thing that showed that we needed to tick off boxes and become something official in different places. And that was why we said we also need to become an official 501c3 so that we could receive grant funding and all like that. So I would say that the opportunity was that I did go to that World Conference Against Racism. 3 days after the conference ended, the terrorist attacks against the World Trade Centers happened. And if we were ever going to hear anything about the World Conference, that vanished in that moment. But out of that World Conference, there's still work that's going on out of that, and SAAPHI can engage on the global side even with that. So I will yield the floor.
There were a lot of opportunities during my tenure, which was 2008 to 2010. One of the things I loved about the structure of the board, and I don't know if it's still this way, is that the immediate past president, the current president, and the president-elect all work together. So even though you had your official 2-year period when I was the president, that there was actually an extended period where you kind of moving into a role where I played a more dominant role, and other periods where it was more a supporting role. During that period, and actually as you were speaking, I looked up, I think it was actually 2002 that Jesse did take it, and that's the year that I actually first came to a SAAPHI meeting. Thinking that Amani Nurajita actually brought me, just, thinking I was just coming to some general event, and within 2 years I was signed up to do all kinds of things. And I say that because that was really how the organization functioned, that each one came and gave and dedicated and committed and worked within the organization, and also to serve as liaisons outside of SAAPHI, connecting the work that we're doing beyond that. So in terms of opportunities, I think one of the big opportunities we had was actually trying to deal with a challenge at times, and that is trying to literally just hold things together. So again, this was like for you track runners out there, this was like a relay race. And during the period that I was president, I felt like I had this baton, and there were periods when we really didn't have much of a critical mass there, yes. So we really worked towards trying to build infrastructure so that people could participate, and also trying to establish some kind of routine and stability for the organization, thinking that if it were easier for people to be involved, people would be involved more. So that was really probably one of the big opportunities that we had.
And to add to that, since I was president right after Chandra, so I want to clarify that why we were going through a transition period is because SAAPHI was so successful. So what their original mission was you have this meeting beforehand, before the meeting, and then we pretty much infiltrate APHA to then, affect policy, affect leadership. And we had so many SAAPHI members that were affecting policy, that were in leadership, that we needed some worker bees back in SAAPHI to keep the organization together. And so I felt like that was our role during our presidency, and Chandra did such a wonderful job in creating that stability and structure that when my presidency came around, it was now time to document. So we had started documenting SAAPHI's successes before I became president, but it was my, task or charge to finish that, and then also, again, start reaching back out to Black Caucus and other organizations that were very interested in working and engaging around minority health. So I think that there's so many, and SAAPHI's still doing awesome stuff that, during our presidency, it was time to really sit down. What was our original focus? Let people know, and that was a difficult charge because, as Bill will tell you, you don't want to tell all SAAPHI secrets because we're still trying to, go into the back door and affect change without people knowing that you're affecting change. But it was a great time. It changed my career trajectory. That's another question that we'll get to later. But SAAPHI's awesome. That's all I have to say.
May I just add another?
Absolutely.
Yeah, go on.
I just wanted to give a concrete example of what we're talking about, so to make it kind of concrete and real. One thing that we did, and Rebecca and I worked together as president and president-elect, and so a lot of what was accomplished during my tenure was never accomplished just by myself, but really by especially Rebecca, Dorothy Stevens, and I just really hunkering down together to pull along the SAAPHI team to do things. And one thing that we did was we reconnected to the leadership network of epidemiology societies throughout the Americas. And so SAAPHI was intimately involved beginning in 2006 with the leadership of all the epidemiology societies in the Americas. We were at the table. We shaped the agenda. We helped to shape the agenda for the North American Congress of Epidemiology for 2006 and 2011. And we hosted a symposium at that Congress. And I assure you, it was different than any other symposium at that Congress that had to do with the cutting edge work that is happening among SAAPHI members, among the SAAPHI membership.
Thank you for remembering that, because even the fact that we got to that table was one of the things that we have been thinking about before, about how do you make us real in places? How do you, so when there was brainstorming about what are the epidemiology organizations in the country, then we put SAAPHI in that list. So there's something to be said about understanding where the power is and then declaring as a real entity, not just a loose gathering, but to give us standing in different places. And I don't know what the next challenges are for standing, but that's important. I also wanted to say that SAAPHI has always been the place where you as a student could come and be sitting at the table of or next to, Bill Jenkins or David Safter or, Sherman James, you know what I'm saying? Like, that you could be right there and talk to them. And it's intimate enough that people can get to know one another. And in this room are not only former leaders like immediate past president of the American Public Health Association, Vic Schoenbach, who's been doing tremendous leadership through the American College of Epi and SAAPHI and all of this, like all the time. I don't know if Dick David is in here yet. So Dick David from Chicago, who always comes and represents, So there are people who are sort of standards here, but we learn from each other the secrets about how do you get on the executive board of APHA. What's important in terms of being active in your sections? So that is important. So don't sleep on who else is in the room.
That's right.
Right? And we need to be sharing our strategies and pulling each other along, because it's not just about science in this room, it is about leadership in this room, and it's a fabulous gathering.
Thank you for that. And I just wanted to add on to that as a student, I definitely feel like SAAPHI was a place that allowed me to feel comfortable. So I mean, you go along and you read papers, right, from Dr. Jones and Dr. Ford, and it's that email like, I met you at SAAPHI. Do you remember me? And then there's like this immediate connection of like, and willingness and openness in terms of like mentorship or even a telephone call. I remember when I was getting ready to apply to PhD programs, and I actually spoke with Dr. Jones, and like everyone in my class was like, what? Like you spoke with her? I was like, yeah, So I think building off something that Dr. Hasson mentioned, how do you feel like SAAPHI shaped your career or helped you in terms of your career trajectory or moving you forward in terms of your research or ability for collaboration?
So for me, this is my whole career academic story because as Brittany mentioned before, I'm trained as an exercise physiologist. So I'm very much in the biological sciences, and when I was a PhD student, there were very few hard scientists that looked like us. So when I came to APHA on a whim because I got honorable mention at a poster session at school, and the person who won, she couldn't go for some reason, so they asked me if I wanted to go. And then I came a day early, and I just, honestly, in my head, I said, ooh, where are all the black people? And so I looked on the program, and I saw Society for the Analysis of African American. Okay, I'm there. So it was a small room with maybe 10 or 12 of us, and I'm just walking into the room, thinking I'm going to hear some good presentations. And by the time I left, I think I was secretary. And Kumar was sitting there like, okay. But it was great. No, it was great. I mean, it was a lot of work because at that time we were redoing the bylaws. So I was able to look at what is the purpose of this organization from the grassroots, like the original purpose. What does that mean for now? Where are we moving forward? But the first time, and everybody was like, oh, let's hear what you have to present, Rebecca. So I remember my